And this half an hour, we're going to talk about compliance. Nobody likes that. Talk about audit. Nobody likes that. But you want to know so you can better plan. And you want to know so when you really did get audited, and you can sleep, just like me. So we do things right. So we not worried about compliance, but you still need to know the rule, right? And you know how the government changes the leadership from time to time. So just like we just did a transition from Republican president to Democrat president, so things are changing. However, the when we change leadership, things are changing, triggering down to the bottom, which you and I, we feel it. Okay. And in practice for over 20 some years, I can tell you that our presidents come on board, and the leadership on the top sort of triggering down the understanding to the bottom. So the audit is one way. Then there's also leadership come on top, then the audit goes down a different way. It is not determined by the parties, I'll tell you. It's actually determined by the agency head that was appointed by the president. So whoever that is, that person's leadership, it doesn't matter which party he belongs to or she belongs to, and there will be something carried out by that person which impacted you, how you will receive your audit. So with that said, it is really hard to predict, right? So what we do is we just educate our folks to really know where is that possibility. And so what kind of audit and what kind of compliance am I being burdened with, and for the moment, for now. So common audits and a compliance audit. These are the common ones. I listed for you folks, okay? We have 3 branches in 2 states, Minnesota, Iowa. That's why I list the 2 states here. Of course, IRS audit is a big deal. And the Federal Department of Labor is another one, okay? But these 2 kind of in conjunction on the payroll audit. So the labor department comes in. They want to make sure that you treat your labor fairly. But IRS audit come in, they want to make sure your accounting and taxes was calculated properly. Then, of course, at the state level, you have the workforce or human right workforce audit and Minnesota, Iowa. And for the state revenue department, it's like a mini IRS, but it's a state, right? So that is audit, sales tax audit, and your income tax audit. Of course, now with COVID-19, there is a bunch of COVID-19 related compliance audit. So those are the most common ones, okay? And I say that what triggers the audit, okay? So number one, for IRS, what triggers is the what you submit is not the same as what IRS has. So that triggers. And IRS also have this big database. They do analysis. For example, if you run a restaurant, but your cost of goods sold, it is not 35% of to the sales, but 53% of to the sales, then that's the deviation. That you are deviating from, you are going away from the norm, so you can be audited. Cash deposit, folks, if you deposit cash in the bank, and the bank actually sending those information to IRS, so you are getting audited for that. And of course, if someone calls IRS to report you, so you can be audited. And we know that one of the tax preparation shop get closed down by the IRS because they were doing things wrong. Well, I shouldn't say that. I don't know what they're doing. They were shut down by the IRS. So we only knew it because the IRS was auditing everybody else that tax preparer was doing. So a lot of them flow into our office, and we learned the fact. That's what happened. So those are more like a reasoning audit, right? They just, you go for a tax preparer, and that tax preparer get compliance audit by the IRS and had an issue. Then you as a taxpayer and you probably will be audited too. See, things are relating, right? And of course, Department of Labor report by whistleblowers. For example, one of your employee worked overtime and get paid hourly, but you don't pay overtime, and you think your employee would just pretend that didn't happen. It's okay? No. So they call Department of Labor, tell them that how bad you are, and as a business owner, yeah, you were reported by your employee and you are being audited. Of course. And our employer does wrong thing, but we also have seen a lot of business owners and just even, I would call that being abused by the people they hired. And even without no base, they would go claim things like that. So what can you do, right? It's a part of the cost for doing business. So that is a trigger, right? And the state. Of course, the state, if you got audited by the federal, the state will change their report. You owe more money. And if the state don't like what you reported, you get audited. And so the state has more reason, more chances to audit you than the federal, because at the state level, you may have a sales tax side of things, you may have a use tax side of things, you have income tax, right? So it's more chances. So of course, if you receive the government money over the pandemic, let's say, what are they? I can think of EIDL loan, I can think of PPP, I can think of employee retention credit, I can think of the grants I got. So all of these, they are government money. The government is entitled to check you up to see whether you really, really did it right. Did you claim your PPP fund based on what they say, or you're completely just fraudulently made up a number and submitted it, right? So there are lots of fraud is going on with PPP and EIDL loan. And I certainly hope that none of the people I know would ever go down that route, because we don't want you to ever get familiar with how to do things wrong. You need to just make sure that you're smart and you're in compliance. And that means we pay what we need to pay and we get what we should get. You will not be short of anything just because you don't know the rules, because that's why community CPA is here. We make sure that what belongs to you is yours. But what doesn't belong to you, and let us just say goodbye to it and celebrate. I have a client, and one time, this was many years ago, and he came to our firm because he have us helping him to do his taxes for his grocery store and his personal. So one year he came back and he said, Ying, you guys made a mistake. And I lost my SNAP program food stamp. So I look at his taxes. He made very good money in that year. So of course he paid some taxes on tax return, and he disqualified himself by making more income on the food on the to get a food stamp. So I told him that no, it wasn't a mistake, but maybe we just forgot to tell you that after we file this tax return, you will not be eligible for those credit and for the food stamp subsidized dollars, and you should celebrate that you are out of there. Because if you are relying on welfare forever, for God's sake, that you will never be successful. That welfare is evil. Welfare is evil. Did you hear me saying that? Because that will keep you there forever. You don't want to have that temptation. I told the guy that if I were you, I celebrate because I am the first one in my community came out of food stamp, because he told me that he didn't even know the food stamp was actually not for everybody. He goes, "You didn't have food stamp?" I'm just like, what are you talking about? I don't even know how to use the benefit of the food stamp. I never had one. So he didn't even know that was not even for everybody. But anyway, so he is now a very big business person, and he do so well, and he is still my client. He always told me that I opened his eyes. So there you go. We want to make sure that what is yours, but what is not ours belongs to welfare, say goodbye. The sooner the better, because as long as you're there, you're being nailed down for audit. Yes, they will audit you, they will check you, they will tell you that you don't qualify, and you're just miserable because you are under someone's spell. You're like a bug under a finger. No, don't feel that way, and just go away from that and do the right thing and grow your business. That's all you do. Okay. And here, stay legally compliant. I always say that. And our folks, some of our immigrants coming from the country that we don't have respect for that country's leaders, right? They're corrupt, they're in war. That's why, a lot of immigrants coming to the United States that way. And when you come to the new country, and a lot of immigrants carries the momentum, carries the mental stage where the government rules is not something they want to follow. And I want to say that if you are new to the country, just started doing business, one thing you want to be Americanized, that is to learn the rules. Coming to Community CPA's webinar, learn rules, because learning it will give you money, because it will give you money that is yours. You can keep forever. Okay. So in this, stay legally compliant. And, this is the requirement from the government, that they want you to have your internal documentation properly, like your accounting records and all your business structures and how you have it. All of these are important. Actually, in our practice, we do that a lot. I tell my clients that if you want to file a tax return really correct, and you can sleep after you file, even if you get $1 million refund, but it's correct, and you do a good accounting, because accounting is the backbone of anything you do with government. If you don't even have a general ledger, if I say that general ledger, you go, what is that? You know what? You have a long way to go to be a business that can defend yourself. You have to have a general ledger. Okay. So, and the state filing. And here I listed some of the state filing for you, just because I want you to know that if you don't file the state filing timely, properly, that's a trigger. And that's where your accounting, your business will be looked at. And you want to file everything properly. It is not that hard when you do it right from beginning, folks. And, in the new year, I tell people that there are business people out there just really did not do good accounting. Okay. Let me get rid of this one. Okay. So they don't do good accounting because they never did it, right? So they just, every year when the tax time come, they cringe. And then they go, I'm just going to do this estimate this year, and next year I will do better. So that is just become a disease. That's a disease, folks. And it's almost like when you raise your child, a newborn baby come out. Did you plan to never change the diaper of the baby? No, of course. Of course not. You will, right? Business is the same. When you have a business on your hand, and don't try to have that diaper on for years, right? You want to really clean it up and really do a good housekeeping for your business. And this is where, and you can, you can file these things timely, and then you will stay away from those random audit. Okay. Now, other than IRS, other than state, there is another agency going to come out for our small businesses. That is called SBA, Small Business Administration. Normally, if you don't have SBA loan, you don't really deal with SBA, okay? And so small businesses like those teeny little ones, we don't have loans, and it doesn't really matter. But life is different now. Starting from 2020, SBA has given us EIDL loan, PPP, and maybe your PPP got forgiven, and SBA also now have PPP too. All right. And all of these things, they are important for you to know that you need to be in compliance. Okay. And look, SBA will review every PPP that is over 2 million. And that is guaranteed. So if you got PPP for 2 million, and they are going to look at everything you submitted. And SBA also reserve the right to audit you anytime. And they require you to use the money in the right way and to save the document forever. And they, of course, also have what they call appeal process. Okay. And I want to kind of explain to you about this appeal process. So, Office of Hearings and Appeals existed in every government. They have a little different name. So in SBA, it's called OHA, is Office of Hearing and Appeal, and at IRS, it's called Appeals. And in the state government, it's also called the State Appeals Office. So what the appeals is basically a place where the business got audited or you dealt with a auditor. So let's say this auditor was very unreasonable and already determined you are criminals before they even coming into the door. If that happened to you and you conclude with the auditor, doesn't matter what the auditor do, and you make sure you have all your backup, and then you go for appeals or go to OHA. So the appeal officer will review everything you have with auditor and with you. They are an independent. They are an independent entity, and it's they call them quasi judicial appeal, which means they're like a court. They're administrative judges. They're not the judges got appointed. They are an employee, but they are doing they call themselves administrative judges. So those are the ones who will review your case. They're not connected to the auditor, so they are looking at it from their independent view. So supposedly fair. And if you ask my experience, and I have positive experience when we deal with appeals, especially if the first line of auditors are very biased for whatever reason. They before they got in to look at your book and record, they already decided you're criminals. If that is the case, it's okay. Our government has a way to bring justice to you, so you go to appeals. So that's what you need to know. Okay. And then, of course, there is another office called National Ombudsman. This one, Ombudsman office, happens at the state level as well. So they are the one that would interfere, like if you have excessive enforcement by the federal agency. For example, there is a case that this this law firm actually was audited by IRS, and it was excessive audit because whatever happened, I won't go into detail, but I know the case. But anyway, so then it goes up to the ombudsman's office to be reviewed, and then they will give recommendation to the agent, to the agency, so that way it can be resolved. So you have this one more tool to make sure you are good, to make sure your treatment, the treatment to you, is fair. Then, of course, this is the right. I'm going to read it out because how many times do we not know our right, right? And this is one of the culture shifting. When you are immigrant from another country, when you come to United States, the biggest lesson you learn is your rights, because you need to know what you are entitled. So the right to be informed, which means that you can ask the auditor and the compliance officer, why am I being audited? The right to be informed, the right to quality service. And if you don't understand why are they charging you so much money, and to have them explain to you, the quality service includes be nice to you and be able to explain to you. The right to pay no more than the correct amount. Of course, the right to appeal. See, right to appeal. And the right to finality. This one is the amount of time they give you for you to finalize. So you have the right for that. You have the right to take time, and the right to privacy, right to confidentiality, and the right to retain representation. That is why community CPA is here, because we represent our clients in front of the federal agency. Okay, so we actually can go to talk for you. If you are just not wanting to meet the auditor, or you were out of the country, or maybe you are in quarantine with COVID-19 and we are here, okay? We're never going to get COVID-19. Who can guarantee that, right? But let me tell you, we have 28 staff here, and we only had 2 cases of COVID, which was contracted outside of the office. So our office is still nice and infection free. And I want to keep it that way throughout the whole pandemic time, because that's the biggest gift we can give to each other in our firm. And we can give to our client, knowing that they would not get infected by our staff because we're safe. And now, the right to hire and the just tax system. What is the last one? Yes. So you have Taxpayer Advocate Service. This is the federal agency, federal committee that I joined, and actually it's a privilege to be, because you are selected. You can't just raise your hand and go, I want to go there. No, you have to be vetted through, so they take you in, and so that's a credit to me, right? That's my accomplishment. So I'm actually, last year I was on the committee advising TAS. We call them Taxpayer Advocate Service. And this year I'm on the committee working on 1-800 number, which is toll-free number. So the last few slides is really, really important. Okay, so this one would tell you what is to keep for those audit, compliance audit. I know you're worried about that. And for IRS, I call them as IRS years. So for IRS, there are 3 years in front of you, my dear. I don't know whether this thing bothers you or not. Let me move to the down. Okay. It is 2, 3, and 7. Okay. So I know it sounds really confusing. Which years are you saying, Ying? And you are telling us too many years. So for IRS record, just to keep the longest year, the 7th year, that is the longest time you keep, right? So the other 3, it says that keep the records for 3 years from the date you filed your original return. So let's say we filed on October 15, we filed 1040, so 3 years. So you calculate 3 years, right? And then 2 years, or 2 years from the date you paid the taxes. What if you're on installment? So you're not done paying taxes. So your 2 year didn't even start, okay? And keep record for 7 years. So if you file a loss for claims. So remember, CARES Act has this net operating loss. Hey, if you don't know what I'm talking about, you need to go to my webinars, listen to that one, because the net operating loss is a huge benefit. Man, if you didn't really know, and you have a loss and you don't know what I'm talking about, you really need to subscribe to our YouTube channel and become our client. Yes, very simple. Solution is simple. Yes. Everybody agree with me. I know, I see you. I know you agree with me. And here, so IRS years, okay? There is another entity called SBA. SBA, remember? They're the one giving us the PPP. They're the one giving us the PPP2, EIDL loan, and that grant thing, the 10,000, remember? So they have a years. Look at that. So I highlighted 6 years. So if you have PPP, you need to keep your record 6 years. And don't tell me that on 2026, and they came around to audit you for 2020 PPP, you go, well, I throw them away already. No, you don't, because they are coming back and you need that 6 years, okay? And what about EIDL loan? 5 years, folks, 5 years. So EIDL loan, because it is a government, more favorable things that government did for small business. So they want your books and record. So you're gonna ask me, so what do you mean by books and record? What about my expenses that is on the kind of film paper that a couple years later it will all become white? Okay, then you need to make photocopies and keep it because you need to keep all the way to the receipt. That's that. Okay. So with compliance audit, folks, and remember what I said, it is not worth to do it wrong. Do it right from the beginning. And there are so many avenues out there you can arrive into the right spot. And don't ever and purposefully doing things wrong. And we all make mistakes, okay? Mistake is allowed. But when you get into compliance audit and audit, you always struggles between whether it's on purpose or it is accidental mistake. So if you are rude to be on purpose, and I guess you could even go to jail. And I have this gentleman went to jail, and because he came over, this is many years ago. It's in my first book actually. I wrote about that story, and he actually set up a tax preparation company and to do taxes for his fellow people who are from the same tribe, the same country they're from, and the culture of the tribe, they share everything. There are 200 families, but they share kids, they share things a lot. So he has 7 kids, so he keep 3 for earned income tax credit, child tax credit claim, and then he give the other 4 out to the other people to claim. And so investigator come and they rock the boat, they interview the community members and all of that. And the day he came over to me and he said that I did this, do you think I would go to jail? And I said, yeah. And I mean, if you don't have a good, if you don't have a good going back, if your attorney did not defend you and, giving the culture side of impact for you, yes, American standards, yeah, you go to jail. And he actually got 4 years jail sentence. I mean, our people, okay, I consider him my people. And a lot of times it is not because they purposefully doing that and they're taking a chance to not go to jail or go to jail. And a lot of it is because they have no knowledge about whatever they're doing. Okay, even though he's smart enough to file taxes, but he doesn't know the rules. So this is the huge, what I called culture embracing, right? And we have so many activities here in the United States. The Caucasian, the majority of the people here, they support on the culture learning, and they come into the government give grants and money for cultures to survive, for your ethnicity to prosper. But for people like us, and we need to learn the culture in business as well. To succeed in business, the culture of learning the business culture is really important. It is a key for you to be successful. So that's why we talk about this. We want you to know ahead of time. And we mark today's date because 4 or 5 years later, you'll be audited, you'll be compliant. I want you to remember today you actually heard this. So you know what to do. If you don't know what to do, after you hear this and you totally lost and you're even more confused, and then we deserve to have you as our client so we can properly train you, educate you, so you be a smart businessman and never do things wrong and never need to pay government back a penny, and you will do a good business. And thank you very much, everybody. And I really appreciate you being here. And if you're impressed with us, subscribe YouTube Community CPA channel and becoming our client. Come on, why not? We're so good. Talk to you. Bye.